Have you ever stopped to think about what it means to carry in your arms a weapon capable of cutting literally anything? I'm not talking about an ordinary sword. I'm talking about something that transcends matter, that ignores the laws of physics, that tears through the very fabric of space. Now, imagine living with that power and with the weight of having used it against someone who trusted you. This is the story of Shura of Capricorn. Close your eyes for a second. Think of a warrior who since childhood was molded to become the perfect blade. Not a person, a weapon. His arms aren't just limbs, they are Excalibur itself. The legendary sword that, according to mythology, could only be wielded by the most righteous of knights. And that's exactly where Shura's tragedy begins to take shape, because he believed he was righteous. When Shura was still young, he received a direct order from the Grand Master. Eliminate Aiolos of Sagittarius, the traitor who had attempted to assassinate the young Athena. Without questioning, without hesitating, Shura obeyed. His arms cut through Sagittarius's golden wings. A companion's blood stained his hands, and for 13 years, he carried that as a trophy of loyalty. But what if it was all a lie? Feel the weight of that? You dedicate your entire life to a cause. Sacrifice friendships, humanity, your very ability to feel, and then you discovered you were manipulated. That the man you killed was innocent, that you were onto the sword of justice. You were just a blind tool in the hands of an imposter. That breaks a person. Shura's Excalibur is often cited as the most devastating technique among the Gold Knights. And that's no exaggeration. We're talking about a strike that cuts through dimensions, not just stone, metal, or flesh, but the very space between things. When Shura moves his arms, he's literally opening rifts in reality. It's as if the universe recognized that blades shouldn't exist, but couldn't stop it. And the scariest part, Shura never needed a physical sword. The power is within him. It's part of him. Every cell in his body was trained, conditioned, forged to become the sharpest edge that ever existed. Now think about the fight against Shiryu, the dragon. Two warriors, two philosophies. On one side, Shura, absolute obedience, blind loyalty, duty above all else. On the other, Shiryu, the search for truth, the courage to question, the shield that protects the innocent. When these two meet, it's not just a physical battle, it's a clash of ideals, and Shiryu does something no one expected. He abandons his armor, gives up his defense, becomes completely vulnerable before the deadliest blade in the universe. Why? Because he understood that to defeat Shura, he would need to go beyond combat. He would need to touch his soul. Take a deep breath and visualize this scene. Shiryu holds on to Shura. Both are falling toward Earth. Gravity pulls them down. The air burns around their body, and in that moment, something happens inside Shura. All the certainties he built throughout his life begin to crumble. The mask of the perfect soldier cracks, and behind it, a regretful man appears. He finally understands. Aiolos wasn't a traitor. Athena was real, and he, Shura of Capricorn, the knight who prided himself on never missing his mark, had missed the most important target of his life. What happens next is one of the most beautiful scenes in Saint Seiya. Shura uses Excalibur one last time, but not to attack. He cuts through the air, creates a dimensional rift, and pushes Shiryu back to safety. He sacrificed his own life to save the one who was supposed to be his enemy, the sharpest sword in the universe. Used as a shield, there's a brutal poetry in that. For years, Shura was defined by his ability to destroy. That's what he knew. That's what gave meaning to his existence. But in the end, the most powerful act he ever performed was an act of protection, of redemption, of love. Perhaps the only way a broken warrior knows how to show it. And here is a reflection I want to leave with you. Excalibur represents absolute power, the ability to cut through any obstacle, to eliminate any threat. But power without purpose is just destruction. Shura spent his entire life sharpening his blade, but never stopped to ask, who should I really be fighting against? How many times do we do the same thing? Perfect skills, develop talents, build entire arsenals of capabilities, but forget to question the direction, follow orders without thinking, accept truths without investigating. And when we finally open our eyes, we realize we've been cutting the wrong things all along. Shura's legacy it's the choice he made in the last seconds of his life, the decision to use all that devastating power for something greater than himself. Shiryu carries Shura's technique to this day. The dragon inherited the ability to cut through dimension, but more important than the technique, he inherited the lesson. Strength without wisdom destroys, but strength with purpose transforms. And that's why Shura remains one of the most fascinating knights in the saga. He's not simply a hero or a villain. He's a man who made grave mistakes, who carried guilt for years, and who found redemption the only way he knew how, through sacrifice. The sharpest sword in the universe bowed before something it couldn't cut. The truth. So here's the question I want you to take with you after this video. If you had in your hands a weapon capable of cutting anything, any obstacle, any limit, any barrier, what would you choose to cut? The enemies that others point out to you, or the chains that bind you to lies you never questioned?